Good evening. I am Chef Mark Wright, and you're joining me for my new show, Dining with Mr. Wright. So, this show is going to do some cooking. We're going to meet some guests in Chicago and see what they have going on in their careers, in their singing careers, photography, music, dance, art. We have a couple philanthropists coming through. So we're just really kind of showcasing some creative things going on in Chicago while in the same time showing them how to do cooking, new techniques, new foods to try out new aspects of cooking. The show will be coming out first and third Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. this time. And this week we're going to meet with Chris De La Roche. She is an artist who lives in the Pilsen area, started off in poetry, and now has gone into the singing aspect of it and has an album coming out this year. So we're going to do a Sunday dinner with her. We did a nice pork tenderloin. They also did a twist on green bean casserole. We did a strawberry shortcake with strawberry scones and a spoon bread souffle. So sit back, enjoy. Hope you enjoy the meal. Hopefully you can get some good tips out of it and learn something new about some artists we have in Chicago that maybe you haven't heard of and maybe you'd like to see more of. So please enjoy the first episode of Dining with Mr. Wright. Welcome to Dining with Mr. Wright. I am Chef Mark Wright. This evening we're going to do a Sunday-style dinner with our Hungry for Success guest, Chris De La Roche. How you doing, Chris?
Happy to be here. I'm great.
Good. So, Sunday dinner, I grew up in a household where my mom cooked every Sunday. We came home from a service. So I'm trying to do something a little Sunday dinner for you today.
Awesome.
So we're going to do a roast pork loin with a apricot glaze, a southern favorite that my grandmother kind of taught me how to make is a corn spoon bread. I'm going to do a twist on a green bean casserole. And to finish off, since summertime is coming, I'm a big fan of strawberries. We're going to do a strawberry shortcake. And in all this, you're going to help me out.
All right.
And you're going to get a chance to kind of tell us what you've been doing and what's going on with you.
Excellent.
So let's start with getting the pork done, and then we'll come back and talk to you. Right. So what I've done is this is about 2.5 pounds of pork.
Wow.
It's a pork tenderloin. You can get it from any local store, Jewel, Dominex, Whole Foods. I usually get most of my meat from Whole Foods. And we're going to do is sear it up, salt and pepper. That's all you need. A lot of times people say, some Lawry's or put, the exercise spice.
I usually add a
Yeah,
little seasoning salt myself. Hopefully no MSG.
No MSG. But we do simple salt and pepper because we want the sauce really to kind of bring everything into balance. Okay. So we're going to salt and pepper it. Then I will sear these up and put them in the oven. And we'll get the Sunday dinner started.
Excellent.
All right, so have a little salt. Depending on your salt preference, I like to make sure I put enough salt. I'm not a big, huge, salty fan, but I do like to make sure that my food is seasoned well. You need some cracked black pepper. If you don't have a pepper mill, you can use the pepper. It's already cracked, but I do think the flavor of cracked black pepper can't be beat. Basically, after it gets seasoned, we're going to put it in a pan with about 3 tablespoons of butter and a little bit of olive oil, and we'll sear it up brown and nice on all sides. So we'll get that started, and we'll be right back. So we're going to go ahead and put the pork in a hot pan, and we basically want to get it brown on all sides. It should take maybe about 5 minutes or so to brown on each side of the pork. So while we're getting this going, we're going to talk to Chris about what she's been doing in her career in Chicago. All right, Chris. So let's talk to me about what you have going on and what you've been doing. I know you got poetry going on, you have singing going on. So tell me what you've been doing.
Well, most recently I've been producing my own album. I started producing at the beginning of this year, actually, and so I've been pining away at my own first album. The working title is Locker Chronicles, so it's kind of, there are some songs that I wrote when I was still 17 in my rock band, some songs that I wrote as a freshman in college, and just taking all of those different experiences and telling my own story through music. So, as you said before, a lot of my art has been poetry thus far, a lot of performing, spoken word, but now I get to tell my story through music, which I'm really excited about.
All right. So yeah, and I've heard that one song on your blog. I mean, actually on your bio. What song is that? What's the name of that song?
Oh, well, it's a poem, I Am.
No, it's the beats playing in the background.
Oh, at the beginning?
Yes.
On the homepage? That song is called Don't Know What to Think.
Okay. Yeah, that's listening to that, that's a really, kind of catchy tune and kind of sticks in your head. So
Thank you.
definitely looking forward to, when are we looking for the album?
This summer.
This summer.
It'll be finished by this summer.
So since, we're here, I expect, I should, I'm getting a free dinner, you get a little dinner here,
I can definitely send
you
send
send a
that
copy,
away. Definitely send
slide
that
it on
away.
over. Sorry. Okay. And so what's going on with the poetry? Now, I know you were doing poetry slams. I know you were on HBO. You worked with somebody from HBO.
Oh, I've worked with a number of HBO Deaf poets. Christiana Colon. Most recently, we did a performance together at the Chicago Cultural Center for April was National Rape Advocates Month because it was about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we did a performance there. I've also worked with Kevin Koval. I've worked with Shannon Metesky, as well as I've worked with Oscar Brown Jr., the late great Oscar Brown Jr., who was a Chicago legend. Really, yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna get this pork's going. So now, since you are here to help me, to help you, we're going to talk about kind of what else we're doing today. So like I said, we're doing the green bean casserole. Now if you were a kid like me, your mother made the green bean casserole, she opened a can of mushroom soup, threw that to the green beans and threw some of those French crispy onions.
Yeah.
Throw that out the window.
Okay.
So we're going to do
Get that.
green beans. We're going to do actually called haricots verts, which are French green beans. They're a little bit thinner than the standard green bean, so they cook a little bit easier.
Okay.
We're going to make our own mushroom cream. So we're not going to do anything out of a can.
All right.
So what I'm going to have you help me do,
It's official.
I'm going to have you slice these mushrooms.
Okay.
And they just need a nice slice on them. Just like these. And so if you'll slice those, then we'll get that done. And then we'll also finish up the pork. So let's check on this pork and let's see if we can get it in the oven. So as you see, pork's all seared on both sides.
Wow.
It's a nice brown sear. And what I like to do is, that kind of gets the pork going, gets that, seals in some of the juices, gets nice and brown. We'll get this in the oven. I'm going to take a little bit of wine. I'm going to pour the wine in here.
Which one?
We're going to use a nice Pinot Noir. So we're going to do a Robert Mondavi Pinot Noir. So it's a lighter red, so it's not too heavy. And it's also the same wine that's kind of going in our sauce. So it'll tie the sauce and the pork and everything together. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. We'll get this in the oven. Probably about 20 to 35 minutes. We'll have a nice pork with a little bit of pink. Now, people now think nowadays you have to cook your pork till it's dry and clearly white as white can be. But that's not the case. Pork can have just a hint of pink. So I usually take it to about 145 degrees, which we have a meat thermometer. I'll kind of show you how to use that today. 145 degrees, a little bit of pink. The pork will be juicy.
Awesome.
And that's what you look for, I've had my mother's done the pork chop where I can throw it across the room and it'll break a window. We're trying to avoid that at all costs.
my mom's too.
See? It's that old mentality. You gotta have the pork. Gotta have it all the way dead. It's already dead. They put it in plastic for me already. I don't need to kill it anymore. So let's get the wine put in and we'll get this in the oven. We are back. We're gonna do the corn spoon bread. Now it's more like, oh, it's a light bread. It's more of like a corn pudding.
which is kind of what I grew up on. They still make it at holiday. Actually, we just had it for Easter.
Okay.
I didn't make it, but my cousin made it. So it's something that's very prevalent within our family that we have all the time. And there's different variations. Like some people put corn and then put ground meat, and they call it Mexican cornbread. But,
Oh, okay.
you know, it just all depends on.
It
It all depends on how you look at it. So what I need from you, so the kind of twist I put on it, I make it a little bit lighter.
Okay.
So I make it like almost a little bit like a souffle, almost kind of a dish. So I'm gonna have you separate the yolks from the whites. We're gonna use the handy dandy egg separator for yourself.
Mama Wright.
From Mama Wright. So basically, you're just going to crack your egg in here, and you're going to just shake it loose like that. The whites will go in the bottom. Put the yolks in that bowl there.
Okay.
And then we will, in this pot here, we're going to do 1.5 cups of corn, 2 cups of milk, about 1/2 cup of yellow cornmeal.
Okay.
And that'll be that. I'll get this on the pot and start getting it warmed up. Then we'll blend everything together and get it in the oven. And I'll go right along with our pork tenderloin.
Excellent.
All right, so let's get this done. And we'll be right back once we're ready to get this mixed up. Milk.
This thing does really come in handy, this egg separator.
See?
Mama Wright hooked you up.
I did it on the first show.
I'll have
She's
to
like,
get one of these for
she's like, I saw the show and
my
you said it on there and you put it. I said, I did. She was like, that was so nice. I said, no problem. The mixture until it kind of thickens up. Then, you ever whisked egg whites before?
Yes, I think once.
All right, so this is your showtime. This is your showtime. I'm gonna have you whisk the egg whites
Okay.
to like a soft peak, and a soft peak is basically you hold the whisk up, it should kind of fold over itself. It's a
Okay.
nice soft peak. So, gotta put get your workout in for the day.
All right.
So we'll get your whisk. We will have you whisk the egg whites for me.
Just sit it right here.
You gotta whisk harder than that. You gotta put some work. As I said, you don't have to, get the workout in. So we'll get those whipped up.
I think I can handle it.
So we'll get those whisked up. We put a little bit of salt in there to kind of help you out a little bit. You got to make sure you season everything. Everything you make, every layer that you make has to be seasoned. So you season, you're making macaroni and cheese. You season when you put the macaroni and cheese. You season when you put the cheese in, and the eggs in. So every layer has to have seasoning. So you want to keep going harder. See, you whipping like you seem like whipping the eggs. See, let me show you. You do it like this. See, you can do it 2 ways. You can do it this way. But I'm more of this. So this time I need you to whip it like that. And you see how it starts to get frothy? Yes.
Real good. Okay.
There you go. Now I'll take care of the corn, thicken it up. Like I said, it's going to thicken up almost like a corn, putting on a corn porridge. So look at that thickened up. We'll have you finish whisking the whites, and we'll be ready to put that together very shortly. It all up, so a soft peak will be just like that. It kind of folds on itself. So that's egg whites are ready to go. The cornmeal is pretty much done here. So we're gonna blend everything together. Like I said, it's almost like a pudding here. So we'll blend everything together. The egg yolks, egg whites. Add our egg yolks into the cornmeal. And you don't want to do them when it's extremely hot because you'll scramble your eggs. So you kind of
you let it cool off a little bit, and then you add your eggs in. I say those are those 4 eggs I had you separate. And now we got those incorporated. Like I said, now we want to make it a little lighter, so we're going to fold those in. So go ahead and put a little bit of that in there.
Oh, I should do it louder.
Go ahead.
So that it's not.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get this stirred in. And then what I'll do is I'll use a little spatula. So let me get a spatula and then we'll fold this in. All right, let's go ahead and get the rest folded in. And when I say fold, it's just pretty much, you're just gonna kind of, you don't want to deflate the egg whites. So you just want to gently incorporate the egg yolks in here. I mean the egg whites in.
Okay.
So you'll see some streaking of whites, and that's okay. But you're just trying to lighten it up, because if you stir it in, you're deflating the,
You don't have the souffle
Right,
that
you
you're
don't have the
going
souffle.
for.
So
Makes sense.
put in a 1.25 dish. And that's it. Corn pudding, the little bit lighter version of it, goes into the oven about 20-25 minutes, and you're ready to go.
Excellent.
So we'll get this in the oven, and we'll check on our pork while we're there.
Great.
Pork's been in there for a little bit. So what we do is I'm going to check the temperature and see where we are. That's good. We're at 150 right there. So our pork is ready to go. So we'll let our pork rest. We're going to put it on the side here. We'll let it rest. And while that's resting, we're going to make our sauce and our green beans. All right, so the green bean casserole, very simple to make. Like I said, we're going to do some hors d'oeuvres. We're going to do our mushrooms. I did 2 types of mushrooms. I did a portobello. I did a white button, which are available locally. And then I'm going to add what's called a shiitake mushroom. It adds a little bit more flavor, but you don't have to use it. It's just something I prefer to use. You can use porcinis. You can use hedgehog mushrooms, which I find a lot of the Whole Foods. There's just so many different varieties, so I try to do something other than just the standard ones and kind of add another depth of flavor to it.
Okay. So which type of mushroom goes better with, what is it better paired with?
It just really depends on, like, porcinis are kind of meaty, almost like a steak. So a lot of times I'll have a porcini if I want a mushroom that I want hearty. So I'm having like a steak dinner. I want a nice mushroom sauce going there. I'll make that with porcinis.
Okay.
These are a little bit lighter. You saute these
Tacky.
up. Yeah, they're not as heavy. They even have a mushroom it's called like a chicken mushroom, and it almost tastes, when it's sauteed, it tastes a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit like chicken. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow.
But mushrooms is just so many varieties that you can find now. So I just try to incorporate different ones. So we're gonna get this prepped up, and we'll start making this so we can have our dinner, our Sunday dinner.
Great.
So in this pan here, we have 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna melt that. I'm gonna throw in a shallot, then throw in my mushrooms, some thyme, some sage. Once that cooks down, we're gonna add in a little bit of sherry, which is always good.
More booze.
More booze.
Gotta love it.
I'm always up for cooking with wine if it's good stuff. And then do the green beans, and I like to put a little twist on it by throwing in a little artichoke in it. Your mother probably never put artichokes in. I know my mom didn't, but this will kind of add a different flavor to it. So mushrooms and artichokes, a little bit of cream,
Okay.
and then we'll toss everything together, and we'll be ready to go shortly to have a little Sunday dinner.
This is
get the shallots in the pan here.
So that's the thyme, and that's the sage.
No, this is sage,
This is sage,
and that's thyme.
and that's thyme.
So sage is that Thanksgiving kind of herb that you
Yeah,
smell
that's
like your mother.
in the dressing. That's what
Yeah.
goes into the
See,
dressing.
look at you. See, you was like, oh, see, now I remember it
Into
now.
the dressing. But see, you know, we're bad. We don't use the fresh. We use out of the little shaker that
The little
you
shaker?
buy. Yeah.
See, now,
So I wasn't used
see,
to
now
seeing
you,
it
now
in
you
the
gotta
fresh
get your mother
form,
on the
but now I know.
on the
Now I
on the
know.
good stuff. You tell her, don't get the stuff in the jar.
Get the fresh.
Get the fresh.
Get it fresh.
You know?
Or grow it yourself.
When you use fresh, you use it's more pungent than the dried. So you should definitely. I try to use fresh herbs whenever I can. And what we're gonna top this with, like I said, most times you use those fried onions in a can.
Mhm.
Actually, I made some fried leeks
Wow.
earlier. So I took some leeks, a little bit of pepper, and flour, Wonder Flour. I don't know if you've ever seen Wonder Flour. It looks like a blue can.
Mhm.
I love using that stuff for like lightly frying stuff because when you fry things with like regular flour,
Yeah.
it kind of makes a heavy coating.
Yeah.
This will make a real light coating. I use Wonder Flour to make gravies and sauces and everything, but it's good stuff.
Good
So
to
we
know.
get the shallots going.
So for the leeks, did you use more the light green part or the dark green to fry that up?
You always use the light green. That's where, the tops, you can use tops for, I save the tops for making my stocks,
Mhm.
chicken stocks, beef stock, turkey stock. I'll throw that in,
Okay.
but I always use the only bottom portion, the light portion,
Okay.
for chopping up. The rest of it's really not edible.
Good to know.
So, yeah, that's what you use it for. And finally, now we're in the season of Chicago of ramps. I don't know if you ever had a ramp, but it's also in the onion family. It's only in the Midwest. Very short season, like 2 months.
Okay.
That's another kind of onion thing I like to use when it's that time of season. Instead of using onions or I use the shallots or ramps or things like that. So, all right, so we got that going. We're gonna go ahead and get our mushrooms put in. And this looks like a lot of mushrooms. You're thinking
No,
that's
I
a
love
whole
mushrooms,
lot of mushrooms.
so that looks about enough.
Oh, we have
Love
put,
mushrooms in this house.
by the time it cooks down, mushrooms really cook down really far. It won't be much left, but we'll let that cook down, and then we'll start adding our flavors of the wine and the artichokes and we're gonna throw in our herbs here. And some cream. And sherry is pretty much, you can use any kind of sherry. You don't have to go and buy, you go to stores. You don't have to buy the $30 bottle of sherry for cooking. Just make sure it's a good quality sherry.
Okay.
Most people don't drink it. So, you don't say, oh, I'll spend 30 because I'll drink it later. No one really drinks cream sherry, But you just find a good quality, $10, $15, $8, just sherry for cooking. So don't go overboard thinking that you have to buy the best of everything. It's like cooking wine.
Okay.
Like I'll buy wine for cooking, I might spend $10 or $12 for a bottle, which is less than what I'll spend for my personally to drink.
Yes.
I might spend $15 for a bottle of wine. I have a kind of a range. I like to keep my wine budget,
Yeah.
at a reasonable amount. I worked in a wine bar for some years.
So you knew.
So, you go there and you go to a restaurant and they charge you $80 for a bottle of wine,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out that it's really a $20 bottle of wine that you can buy in the store, which is really a $10 bottle of wine that they get, to get into the store. So
Yeah, the markup.
there is, I think, triple markup in a restaurant, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. All right, so now we have the mushroom sauteing. They're actually reducing down. And then we're gonna add a little salt to that. This is a real cooking show, see? We get to learn a new technique. We get to find out about you. So, why don't you? I know you have a couple of poetry books that you have written. So, why don't you tell me about what those are all about and how you came into writing these books and everything?
Sure. Um, well, I've been writing poetry for years. But when I was 20, um, April just finished up, and that's National Poetry Month.
See, I didn't even know
Oh,
that.
you didn't know that? Well, now you know. So when I was 20, I took the Poetry Month challenge. I wrote 30 poems in 30 days, and at the end of that, I took the time to edit a number of those poems and put it together in a chapbook and published it myself. So that was the first time around, and that chapbook was called Cliff Notes, and that's available online, although it's no longer in print. And the second chapbook, the most recent one, released in 2009, late 2009, was Visceral. And Visceral has more of the popular poems that I perform around Chicago nationally now, including Edict, which one of my favorite performances of that poem was at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in New York. So, yeah,
Well,
those are...
This is the stage now. You have time to go ahead, and if you want to do a little poetry for us, we're all listening. I know I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, you did.
I put you on the spot. I know that's
Kinda
terrible, isn't
really
it?
did. Super bogus. I don't know, because...
All right, so as you can see, the mushrooms have reduced down. We had the big pile, so now we're down a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and add our sherry in, and this is about 3/4 cup of sherry. And what we're going to do is kind of let that evaporate down to almost nothing. Then we're going to toss in our cream, because mushrooms give off a lot of their moisture once you start cooking them.
Yeah.
So we're going to let this kind of soak up, some of the sherry reduce down, and then we'll add our cream in, and then that'll be our mushroom sauce, and then we'll do our green beans. Let's check on this souffle here.
Wow. That looks divine.
All right, so that's all going. Now, to tie this whole thing together, we got everything kind of coming together here. We need a nice sauce. A lot of times what I do is I'll take a pan sauce. I'll take the pan that I've used to sear the meat in, and add a little bit of wine, a little bit of chicken stock. But for this sauce, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to do a little chicken stock. We're going to do a little bit of veal demi. And a veal demi is basically a veal stock that's reduced all the way down, very thick. Now, most people don't have the time to do it, so you can do a couple different ways. There are a couple grocery stores that carry veal stock, which is Fox and Nobel carries veal stock. Or you can do a paste,
Okay.
glacé de vie, which is just basically a paste I use to, it's basically a concentrated version of veal stock, and you add a little water to it.
Okay.
Then we're going to toss in some dried apricots, and we're also going to toss in a little bit of peach apricot preserves to kind of bring out the flavor that I'm looking for.
And that's Sarah Beth's.
Sarah Beth's.
I've never seen this before.
There's a couple that I get, and one of them is that one. It has another short jar with like a checkerboard print on it. It's really good. It's a really, really good preserves. Those are just the only two I really use for preserves. So we're gonna get the sauce started. So really it's a little bit of this, some of the chicken stock, some preserves, and we're just gonna let that reduce down, and we'll be ready to sauce everything up and make a green bean casserole. So we'll be back in a minute. So here you have your first album is coming out this summer. So tell me, how did this all come about, from poetry to writing the music? So give me the background and the story about this.
Well, music, that's always been in my heart. Since I was 3, there's this classic story of me singing Mariah Carey in my car seat. I've always loved music, always been a singer, and always been a writer. So when the music kind of slowed down, poetry kept me writing, kept my artistic juices flowing, so to speak. But I always wanted to finish my first music project, my own music project. And so although there were a lot of bumps in the road along the way, 5 years in the making, finally doing it. Produced, written, and performed by me. I have a few collaborators on the production edge. I have my cousin Dwayne Blackamore lay down some keys, and then I have some help from Dave Castellani from Small Time Dealer. He's helping me out production-wise, kind of teaching me the ropes. And in the meantime, just really happy to be working on my music, not having any excuses, nobody getting in the way of that.
So you're doing what you want to do now.
Doing what I want to do, my own boss.
So how would you kind of, when people look out for the music that you're going to be making, how would you kind of categorize, or, you know, is it a blend of different types? Is it, would you say, you know, there's no genre to it, it's just what I want to do? It's kind of so.
Well, been playing it for some friends, and the bottom line, it comes down to it being original. And so, you know, I try not to worry too much about genres. I'll let everybody else figure out, you know, what genre they want to put my music into. But, you know, I'm aware, the same way there's this musician, his name is Frank Ocean, and he says, you know, just to joke, I named my album, you know, Bluegrass, and, you know, as far as the genre, but I'm sure people, just because I'm a black guy, are going to call it R&B, but I think it's so much deeper than that. So when it comes to my music, I have that same mentality. It's just my job is to create it. My job is to get it out, and then everybody else, you can decide how you feel about it, or, you know, where you want to put it. As long as it's in your ears.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, your parents are big supporters, I'm assuming, of the music.
Not so much. Not so much. But they made me who I am. So, and in their own little way, they are supportive.
Okay.
But yeah, not so much.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
It happens sometimes, and that's okay.
I would tell you, my father listened to it, but, you know, he only has an 8-track player, and reel to reel. So since you're not putting it out on reel to reel 8-track.
You know what I'll do? I'll send my parents the instrumentals of my music. They'll love the instrumentals.
Oh, that's the reason why I got it. It's not the music, it's the other things that got it. All right.
Yeah, probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But I really appreciate all of their musical influences. I mean, earlier today, talk about Sunday morning, we were listening to Bootsy Collins and James Brown this morning. And that's, you know, I can thank my parents for that influence, for having, you know, a real musical background to rely on. And, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm listening, oh man, you know, I'm thinking about all of these, like, recent, these contemporary producers that just sample and sample and sample away. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also a difference between knowing where that came from.
Right.
You know.
And it's so funny.
I'm thankful for that. My parents are
you listen to music nowadays and people go,
supportive.
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
it's funny. You listen to music nowadays, you know, people are like, you know, oh, that's a new song. You go, no, that's really not. I mean,
it's not.
You know, and it's so funny is I would try to find, if I hear a song, I'm like, oh, where'd that beat come from? And I would try to find the original beat, and a lot of times I like the original music better than the actual remake of a song. So, you know, it's just kind of funny that people are like, oh, you hear that beat? That's a new beat. No, that was from 1962.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's all, like I said, from your parents. You know, your parents. You know, my father with the 8-track and the reel-to-reel playing, you know, music in the house, and you know, that's how I got into more of the jazz when I was younger. You know, Miles Davis and you know Nat King Cole, and you know, it was just like that's my father played, and so it has carried throughout. So I can understand, you know, the aspect there.
Yeah, my parents gave me my soul diva, Shaka Khan, my daddy.
Shaka Khan.
He would play Ain't Nobody, and I would just Shaka Khan. That's my soul diva.
I saw
From
her,
Chicago too.
I saw her in concert maybe about 4 years ago when she was at Ravinia, and a friend of mine had got tickets for me. No, actually more than that, maybe like 6 years ago. She hasn't been Ravinia like probably 6 years, 7 years. And friend got tickets, and I mean, I was just, the last time I saw Shaka Khan before that, I saw her at a basketball game with my dad. I was a kid. She came. It was a Bulls game. It was the end of the Bulls game, and they said Shaka Khan's coming out.
What?
I was sitting in the Bulls game, and you know, you're a kid. I was like, Shaka Khan. That made my evening. I didn't even really care about the Bulls at that point. I mean, they weren't winning back then anyway. I mean, they were. It was long before Michael Jordan came. It was like,
or even now.
Right. This was like people were like Bulls tickets.
Jalen Rose.
You know, right. They were paying you to take a ticket off the hand. I give you $10 if you just go to the game in my seat. Anything. So you know, to see Shaka Khan there, that was like the memory of that is like, wow, this is good music. So I can understand. So the end of the summer we're looking for. That'll be definitely something. We'll put a couple of your songs out so people can kind of hear them. So they can kind of make their own conclusion of how to put you in a box. I'm like you. I don't really like being put in a box either. So
I don't either.
You know,
and I mean, it's so much more than that for me. You know, I'm also an educator and an activist too. So my songs are not all just, you know, there's your share of love, but they're also very personal. And for me, you know, personal is also political. And so, you know, I do go there. And that's why, you know, you kind of like, maybe I will just send some people the instrumentals. But if you're listening, you know, I'm hoping I can really pluck some heartstrings.
All right. Well, we've got our souffle out. We are finishing our sauce. We're going to toss these green beans in a pan, mix it with our mushrooms, put a little crispy on top, slice the pork, and we'll be back to show everybody what a Sunday dinner looks like. For dessert, you know, we were going to do a strawberry shortcake. So what I made yesterday was some strawberry scones. Scones are a very easy pastry. It's just butter, flour, a little bit of baking powder, some chopped up strawberries, 2 eggs, and a little bit of cream or milk, depending on what you want to use.
Okay. So what would be the difference then if you go with cream as opposed to milk?
Cream is just a richer flavor.
Okay.
So a lot of times I use cream just to kind of bring out the richness. You know, you want to use milk. Milk has less fat.
Okay.
So if you're trying to, you know, cut back on your fat. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some strawberry. I'm just slicing them. I don't chop them. I like them, you know, the big slices. So we're going to do that. And of course, you can't have anything good without a little bit of liquor in it. So we're going to put some cassis in it.
For those of age.
So those of age.
Oh.
Have you ever had cassis before?
Would you believe that was what I had on my 21st birthday?
Somebody.
21st birthday. Someone put that in like a mixed drink for me. It was awesome.
I love cassis. I got this bottle actually. I went down to Jamaica.
Oh.
Well, actually on a cruise like 8 years ago. As you can see, I drink my liquor slowly.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that either. If you're gonna put it in everything.
You know, the 12-step program. I got a problem with the whole 12-step program.
That's for quitters.
So
Homer said that.
I try to avoid the 12-step as much as possible. So now we're just basically going to put this in with a little bit of sugar, and we'll let it sit maybe about 20 minutes or so. And the sugar will dissolve. It'll be nice and sweet. There'll be a little bit of the liqueur flavor in it. And this is about a pound. We'll do about 1.5 pounds of strawberries. And then we're going to do the whipped cream. So, if you want to make the whipped cream for me, in your freezer, I have put in a bowl, which should be hopefully good and cold or semi-cold.
It's pretty cold.
And we're going to do maybe about 3/4 cup of cream and some sugar. Put that there for you. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of vanilla. Sometimes I do mix in a little bit of liquor into the vanilla, into the whipped cream. But since we're already putting liqueur into the strawberries, we will leave that be.
This is my
Oh, the measure cups
quarter cup.
over there. Actually, I didn't see a quarter cup, but we can guesstimate. We can do a half and then a half of a half a cup.
Okay. Good plan.
So we'll go ahead and get you, go ahead and get that started. Actually do a whole cup of sugar and a fourth a cup of, a cup of cream, sorry, and a fourth a cup of sugar.
I'm glad I didn't put anything in there. Okay. Cup of cream.
And that should do that. And about half a teaspoon of vanilla will do with that. And like I said, these will go well with the scones. Like I said, it'll be strawberry in the scones, strawberry here, put whipped cream on top of it, really nice.
How much vanilla, one more time?
About a half a teaspoon. There you go. I thought I put them over there. Is there half in there? Alright. We got that in there. Now, back to the workout, it's, again, it's like the workout before, but it should be easier for you now that the bowl is frozen.
I see. Let me get that sugar in first. So it's a quarter cup of sugar, right?
Quarter cup of sugar. And so like that, then we'll go ahead and get that done. Our green beans should be just about ready. And I like to make them, the green beans, a little bit of crunch to them still. And I've had some where you cook them down, the green beans are soft. I'm just a big fan of my vegetables having still some bite to them. So I usually don't make them soggy. Just personal preference.
Alright. Learning this time.
Faster. So we'll let you finish whisking that up. And I'll take care of this. Once it's done, we'll be ready to serve everything. So we'll finish our dessert. We'll get our green beans set and plate it. And when we come back, we'll be ready to have dinner.
Thought she saw the beauty in what you always thought was a little bit off, but no, I was so wrong. And now that you're gone, I'm here wishing that I had known.
We're back. We have everything plated up. Here is our pork tenderloin with our apricot demi. And like I said, the sauce is really simple. It's just chicken stock, a little bit of veal stock, the red wine that we reduced when we cooked our pork in, some dried apricots and a little bit of apricot preserve. It has a really nice, rich flavor. This is our take on green bean casserole. Just some sauteed green beans, sauteed mushrooms and cream. And on top of that, topped with just some fried leeks, but it's just fried in a little bit of salt, pepper, and a little bit of wonderful flour. have our corn spoon bread, which is like a corn souffle. Looks really good here. And for dessert, we have our strawberry shortcake with the strawberry stones. So this is the Sunday dinner for you.
My Sunday dinner.
Your Sunday dinner. You know, we got to find out a lot about you. You know, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience, kind of what you have going on? Where can they find you? We didn't tell anybody. You know, you're on Twitter?
Yes, I'm on Twitter. You can find me at Chris De La Rash. You can also look me up online at www.chrisdelarash.com. You can also find me on Facebook, MySpace, Blogger, YouTube.
Is there anywhere we can find you? That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I try to be very accessible.
Well, good. Well, did you enjoy yourself? Did you learn something today?
This was wonderful.
Okay.
This is wonderful. From the extra little tidbits to actually learning how to make this. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
You're very welcome. I am glad that we could do it. Hey. Very well. You've been watching Dining with Mr. Wright. I'm Chef Mark Wright. And remember, success is not a destination. It's a journey. Have a good night. You don't mind the food touching, do you? No. Some people do.
I know.
Some people do like, oh no, don't put that on top of that. Oh, I don't do that.
When I was, I helped this year. What did you do?
Well, welcome to Dining with Mr. Wright. I am Chef.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, it's a new show. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. We're going to meet some new people that you might not have seen. You're going to meet some people you might have even heard of. We're working on some good stuff for the show. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can email me at diningwithmrwright@gmail.com, which you can find at the top of the blue box. Also, follow me on Twitter at Chef Mark Wright, and also at Dine with Mr. Wright on Twitter. So if you have some people that live in Chicago that you'd like to see on the show, they're interested in getting themselves out there and having some good food and learning some new techniques, make sure you catch up to me and tell them about me, and we'll work in the show with them, get them taped, and have a good time. But other than that, if you have any questions about the show, throw them in the chat room now. We'll be on for a few more minutes. If you have questions about our music guest, she's actually on the other side of the social stream, so we will. You can actually catch her on that side also. And any questions about the show? Any questions about what you've seen today? Brown, we are not doing drinks today. Maybe we'll have a drink. Actually, next week we're going to do a actually really good cocktail with mint and pineapple. We're doing actually a pineapple mint julep on our next show. So make sure you look out for that. Very interesting all vegetarian meal on our next show. Hey, Janita, like I said, if you know someone, definitely let her get in touch with us. We're very interested in really getting that Chicago talent out there. And it can be from, artist to photographer to, someone doing, philanthropist work. It's all about trying to bring Chicago around and, do some interesting and fun things. All right. Oh, our next show coming up, it will be in the third Sunday this month. It will be with Chelsea Porter. And she's a photographer from Chicago. She has a book all about the female form. She took pictures really just about the shape of a woman, different shapes of women. So it'll be a very interesting show. It will be something definitely to catch. And it'll be fun. And like I said, it's an all vegetarian dinner. No meat, no chicken stock, no, we try to keep it as vegetarian as possible for her because she is a very strict vegetarian other than eggs. So it's if you are into that kind of side of food, you're going to love it. We're going to have some new twist on some food that you probably never thought you could do. We're going to do a classic risotto, which You know, people always assume that's so difficult, but it's not. You know, we can do a risotto in 30 minutes with some asparagus and mushrooms. We have a dessert. We have a cocktail. So make sure you check us out on the third Sunday at 6 p.m. Thank you for everybody for joining. I'll do a couple shout outs. I'd like to thank the Ustream bot as usual for stopping by and seeing us. Aries Love, Brown Babe, Laney Star, Angie P, Janito is back, other Chicago brother Kashana, other Chicago sister but living in LA now, Kaya Still Sings, Mishimori, Miss Ann, Finest One, Shika Charmaine, Sweet and Flirty, the guest that, Tri Lamb, almost forgot Tri Lamb, and 5 guests, my family that's out there, you know, watching the show. Appreciate all the support. And thanks everybody for coming through. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Have a good evening. And like I said, remember, success is not a destination. It's a journey. Have a good night.